Good afternoon, Sue, St. Marie, and Algoma. Welcome to Special Report Afternoon Edition. Thank you to KC Securities for being our sponsor of both the morning edition and afternoon edition of Special Report. Good afternoon, Alex.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's hot out there.
But I'm excited that we're staying inside where it's air conditioned.
Yes, very excited. And speaking of exciting things, we are waiting for Doug Ford's press conference today. A little different. Christine Elliott will not be there today.
Right, it even caught you off guard a little bit. You said, this is a weird
This is the first time in a long time. Maybe she's taking Thursday, Friday off or something.
Kicking her feet up. Yeah. I can't blame her. Can't blame her with this
She's been working 7 days a week like Ford for over 3 months now. So,
do you have an inference onto what maybe today's announcement will be?
Well, Steve Clark, who's the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, I guess it might be something to do with rent, whether it's rent
maybe a bit of
subsidy
aid
or something like that.
Right, maybe some rules changing with landlords. I don't know.
Because there has been some things about rent for commercial tenants,
right.
But we haven't seen anything actually for anyone. I mean, that's renting for their own personal housing. I know that, I won't say where I rent in the company, but they each month send a very strongly worded letter that says, pay your rent.
Yep.
And these are the government programs to go get money from, and if you can't, please move out. So, yeah, it's very nicely worded.
Landlords wanting their money. What a weird concept.
Well, I mean, they're literally telling you to move out.
It's saying boo-hoo, sucks to suck. If you don't have the money, here's a box outside by the dumpster.
Yeah, so now I'm not going to be able to rent anywhere in this town. But anyways, and it wasn't, and I'd just like to say this, where I rent is not a local owner.
Oh, okay.
So that will eliminate...
right,
yes,
for sure.
It's an out-of-town company, shall we say. I've actually heard the local ones are actually quite accommodating, except for places like mine where we're just numbers on a spreadsheet for someplace else.
Right, they're people that they've never seen face to face.
Exactly. And so anyways, there's no forgiveness right now in my building, that's for sure. And I've actually seen people move out. There's actually less cars in the parking lot now. Yep.
Well, hopefully that will change whenever Doug Ford decides to make his way on out.
So hopefully this is going to be something to do with helping people personally and not just, we've helped the commercial companies, the malls and things like that with subsidies, and the federal government's done it in conjunction with the provinces, because this is actually, housing is actually a provincial thing mainly.
Okay.
As far as jurisdiction goes, the federal government can say, hey, this is where we'd like it to go and put money into it, but they still need the provinces to help them on that.
To back it and say, okay, yeah, we like those ideas.
Yeah. So rent rules are actually created mainly by the province.
So I guess Doug Ford would be the man to change some things.
If he wants to do something, he's the guy that can do it.
Right.
And since we're under emergency orders, he doesn't even have to go to Queen's Park and actually pass a bill to do it. Not that he couldn't. I mean, they have a majority government anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Hopefully there is something here for the everyday person,
good news,
where they actually sleep at night, not where they work.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
Superior Hospital.
Yes, let's talk about beds.
I'm going to make sure I read this to get this right, because there are some contingencies on this. So they are going to slowly reopen with visiting patients. Now, I believe it's only one person. Yeah, one visitor at a scheduled day at a predetermined time. Only in the patient's room. Designated visitors will be screened each visit to make sure there's no symptoms. They'll get their temperature checked. Obviously, if you have any visible illnesses, or you've communicated something that might scare someone, you're not going to make it in. No. So this is a first step. Well, I know we're thinking about Colette right now and hoping that she can get some visitors. And now you can get one at a time. So if anybody's watching right now and you are a little worried about someone that's a patient right now, hopefully this eases your mind a little bit and you can get working on seeing them.
Yeah, I was actually speaking with Colette earlier today. So
good.
She's seeing a surgeon tomorrow.
That's
awesome.
So
fingers crossed, because they are looking right now at the skin grafting and what's going to happen there. So it's an important appointment tomorrow for her. But
the fundraiser?
Oh, the fundraiser went up.
Mike.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Michael, for telling us. Yeah. Let's just see what it's gone up to now. We are now at, we're at $9,610.
So
we're up another $300 since this morning.
Almost doubled.
Yes, we're getting close to that 10,000 mark. If you can help in any way, please do. When we originally picked the 5,000 amount, that was when we were told she was going to be able to come back to work in 7 weeks or so. Yeah, and now it's 8 to 10 weeks from the point of the surgery, and that won't even be happening until at least next week. So The healing is happening a little bit, but it's a little bit slower than they need it to be able to get to the point where they can actually do the skin grafting and so on. So we're thinking of you, Colette, and if you can help in any way, shape, or form, we greatly appreciate it. You can go to our Facebook page, and on our Facebook page at the very top, there's a link to the GoFundMe account, and you can help in any way. Please do, because she will need it. There's a lot of expenses over and above her usual expenses with being in the hospital and the recovery time.
And we need her back too.
Yes, we need you back here too, Colette. Okay, weather. It's a hot one out there for those of you that have been outside. Right now we're at 29, but with the Humidex, we're talking mid-30s right now. Could go up to 31. Very little chance of rain happening. Tomorrow, at least there'll be partly like some clouds around. Not going to cool down at all. It's going to be 30, low of 18. Saturday, once again, we're bumping back up. Full day of sun, 32, but with the Humidex, you're going to see mid-30s, even higher. Could even get up to as high as 37, 38 with the Humidex. So if you're going outside, please wear sunscreen, wear your sunblock, wear hats, wear sunglasses, drink lots of water, because it's going to be a hot one for the next few days. Plus, it's going to be sun all the way through. We don't have the 7-day forecast up there for you, but it's sun right through basically for the next 5-6 days straight.
Yeah, so, especially this weekend, it gets very, very hot. I think that's actually when it reached its peak, if I remember correctly, this morning.
Yeah, and so we're probably going to see some heat warnings there as well. We're getting very, very close to the temperatures required for a heat warning. So please make sure that you don't leave your pets in their cars. Don't leave small kids in the car. Just be very careful, because we showed this last week. We did a sample of how hot it gets in a car over a certain period of time, and it can get well into the 120s within an hour inside of a parked car, and it only takes about 10 minutes to hit about 95 degrees Fahrenheit in a car, and it's 119 Fahrenheit after 30 minutes.
Right, I've seen someone, it wasn't here, and this was a while ago, but they put cookies unbaked in a sheet in the front of their car windshield, baked after a few hours. Not kidding, that's how hot it gets.
Oh yeah, it's smoking hot. And speaking of smoking hot and how to cool down, not this weekend, but coming up, okay? We are now starting to see the city, they're going to start opening some of the pools. So, for those of you that live near John Rhodes pool, it's going to be opening July 13th.
Wow.
So it's still a little bit out. And then a couple days later, you're going to see the Manzo and Greco outdoor pools also open.
Right.
Now, the splash pad at Bellevue Park, for those of you who are familiar with the splash pad there, there's no date for reopening that yet, because Algoma Public Health has to approve its opening. And the inspection for that isn't even until next week. So when that does happen, it'll still be a couple days before the pool would open anyway. So you might not see that splash pad open until late July.
And that's really disappointing too. I was very surprised to see how big of a hit it truly was last year. I went by the first day and it was packed, and I went, oh yeah, well, it's the first day, it's open. I went by a month and a half later and it was like it was the first day. So Paul Christian, I know you pushed that through. Good on you, because it was a huge hit in the city.
Yeah, and the YMCA Day Camp part of it will actually this summer be at the Northern Community Center.
Okay.
Also, ice surfaces. GFL will not be opening at all for ice, because it's actually a temporary hospital for COVID-19. We don't have any patients for COVID-19 now, but it's set up for that in case we do need it.
In case of an outbreak,
if we see some sort of massive spike in cases. We'll be talking a little bit later about massive spike in cases in Florida.
Yeah.
Florida today had 10,000 new cases of COVID-19 in a single day. And we'll talk a little bit about that later, because Dr. Fauci warned that we're going to get 100,000 new cases in the U.S. in the very near future, and they're already over 50,000 today, and some states haven't even reported yet. So they're inching up fast, and it's not looking good for Florida, California, Texas, and other areas of the states as well.
Well, now Trump's been quoted. Sorry to cut you off here.
Go for it.
He's been saying he looks cool in a mask. It reminds him of the Lone Ranger, so maybe he'll try to enforce those a little bit more because of how cool he thinks he looks.
Well, he is the commander-in-chief of the Army, I guess.
The Space Force, whatever it is.
Space Force, all that stuff. We're going to hit the commercial. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. See you in a second.
What's life without making a few mistakes down the road? A few sharp turns. And doing things for what we adore, but might regret later. A trip to Chuck's Roadhouse isn't one of them. With melt-in-your-mouth AAA steaks, buttery lobster tail, half-priced apps after 9 p.m., an ice-cold draft with all your Roadhouse favorites. Chuck's Roadhouse. Food the way it ought to be, priced the way it used to.
A message from the Government of Canada.
In your home, lighting is just as important as style.
With PowerView Motorization from Hunter Douglas, you can schedule your shades to light up the room. Create privacy, or both, automatically. No hands required.
So your shades will always be in the right place at the right time in style. And it's only from Hunter Douglas.
And welcome back to Special Report, Afternoon Edition, brought to you by KC Securities. Thank you very much to Dan. I hope you're enjoying your short vacation that you're on right now on St. Joseph's Island. So, hope you're having a good time. Alrighty, so we're waiting for Doug Ford right now. Today he's actually only being joined by Steve Clark, who's the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. As you can see up on your screen there, we're just waiting for that.
Fashionably late.
Yes, fashionably late. I guess when there's 2 of them, it takes longer to organize than when there's 7 of them. So the other day they said there was going to be 3 and then 5 walked out.
True.
Yeah, so who knows?
The posse,
there could be more than 2. We don't know. They sometimes just, oh, wait a second, here's that board.
Speak of the devil.
With Steve Clark. Here we go.
Well, good afternoon. This past Canada Day has given us the opportunity to reflect on what it means to be Canadian. During these extraordinary times, we have to look out for each other. Some of the most vulnerable people in our province have been hit the hardest by the outbreak. People who are homeless, those living paycheck to paycheck, those living without a paycheck, and those who are socially isolated. Many have fallen on hard times, and as Canadians, we need to support them. No one should have to worry if they'll have a roof over their head. That's why we paused residential evictions. That's why we invested $3.7 million in support for housing in Kingston and Muskoka to help find a home for youth at risk. And that's why we invested $148 million at the outset of this pandemic to support our local food banks, shelters, emergency services, and charities. Working with our municipal partners, this money has been put to very, very good use. They've helped us provide relief directly to the people who need it most. In Norfolk County, we're helping provide meals, groceries, and personal care items to those in isolation due to COVID-19. In Peel Region, we're helping 4 nonprofits deliver food to low-income families, seniors, at-risk youth, and people with disabilities. In Hamilton, we're helping to purchase food and provide transportation and personal protective equipment for those in need. We've worked closely with our municipal partners to deliver this critical funding to their most vulnerable citizens. So today, I'm here to announce that we're doubling our investment in the province's Social Services Relief Fund. We're investing an additional $150 million to improve homeless shelters and create opportunities for long-term care housing. This funding will help municipalities renovate shelters, purchase new facilities, and prepare for emergencies. Above all, it will allow them to continue to protect their most vulnerable citizens and provide the care they deserve. And this is just one of the ways we're continuing to support our municipal partners through these difficult days. And we need the federal government at the table. I will continue working with Prime Minister to ensure every community in the province can keep delivering the services. And as our province reopens and our economy restarts, we need to help everyone get back on their feet and recover from these tough times. No one must be left behind. No community must be left behind. As Premier, I will always be a champion for our municipalities and Indigenous communities. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll pass it over to Minister Clark.
Thank you, Premier. I'm pleased to provide an update on our government's continued efforts to support our most vulnerable throughout these unprecedented times. Working together with our municipal and Indigenous community partners in our fight against COVID-19, keeping families at home has been our primary defense against its spread. We have taken action to help Ontarians on a number of fronts as we battle this virus. Through an application to the courts, we suspended residential evictions in March to make sure people could stay in their homes. We also announced $200 million in initial social service relief funding. $148 million of that went to our municipal partners, more specifically, our service managers and Indigenous program administrators, to help strengthen community programs, including their housing and homelessness systems. This funding allowed our partners to expand shelter capacity, purchase personal protective equipment, increase rent banks, and provide emergency funding to those in need. We've heard from service managers that our investment is helping to save lives, and today's announcement will help them to continue responding to COVID-19 right now. The need is urgent. As part of Ontario's contribution to the federal government's proposed Safe Restart framework, we are investing an additional $150 million in new funding through our Social Service Relief Fund to address new COVID-related costs. Our government is working to create longer-term, innovative, and sustainable housing solutions. Local service managers know what their communities need and will be looking for their best advice as we roll out this program in the coming weeks. Today's announcement brings our total social service relief funding to over $350 million. And through our COVID-19 action plan for vulnerable people, we're going to continue working hand in hand with municipalities and social service providers so they can continue to deliver the critical services our most vulnerable citizens rely on. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Just before we start the questions, you notice my right-hand person's not with me today. The best Deputy Premier, the best Minister of Health I've ever seen, Christine. Just tell you a little story. So on, what day are we on? Thursday. So on Tuesday after our press conference, she said, Doug, are we going out Thursday and Friday? And I told her I could never tell Christine a tall tale or anything. I said, well, I'm not too sure, this and that, because I knew I was coming out Thursday, but Christine works her back off. She has been going, it was 105, 110 days, day in and day out. And the toughest ministry out of anywhere in the province, obviously, is health going through this pandemic. And I said, well, maybe I may not be going out. So if anyone talks to Christine and she's up at the cottage, she deserves a few days off. Hopefully she's not watching television, because she'll hop in her car, this is how determined she is, and she'll drive all the way back, and I don't want that to happen. So let's just keep that a secret between us and, and the people listening. She's just an absolute champion. I just can't say enough about her. She's amazing, but every person needs a break, and Christine, a well-deserved break. So hopefully we won't see Christine tomorrow. That's great.
Okay, we'll go to the phone line for questions. First question.
Your first question comes from Jeff Gray with the Globe and Mail.
Hi,
Please
Jeff.
go ahead. Oh, hi. Hi, Goomer. Hi, thanks. I just want to ask first a question about the issue of the farm workers and the health guidance around allowing asymptomatic farm workers to stay on the job. There's this letter signed by hundreds of healthcare professionals concerned about it. At Windsor, I think the medical officer there is not implementing it at a major outbreak. Are you considering reversing this measure or reconsidering it given these concerns?
Well, that's strictly up to the chief medical officer, Dr. Ahmed, down in the Essex area. And I guess the situation on that one farm, there was 177 workers tested positive right now. I can assure everyone down there. I've been on this all day yesterday, night before, and today. I've been on the phone with Ontario Health that's reaching out to the farmers because it makes them nervous now. You have to walk a mile in these farmers' shoes. Like there's companies that could lose their businesses, which I don't want to happen. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of food not being able to be harvested. It's a tough situation. We're all over it. We have our teams down there working with the farmers, working with the workers. We have the translators down there. We're working with OMAFRA, trying to get through this. This is a real challenge for everyone. But the critical area, the message to the workers, they aren't being sent home. I think they're terrified that they're going to be sent home, and they aren't being sent home. You will get paid, and we just want to take care of you. And the best thing to do is with the farmers. We can't run and hide. I'm there to help you any way we can. I'm on this. But the quickest way to get through this is get tested and self-isolate. We'll find housing. No matter where it is, we'll make sure we have the proper housing. We'll support you any way we can. Any way we can.
Follow-up?
And I just, to take my follow-up, just to go to the issue of the day, an additional $150 million for the shelters and other things. The need in Toronto alone, I think the amount that they've spent responding in this area to COVID-19 is much more than that. Mm-hmm. And I know there have been discussions, you mentioned the federal government needing to come to the table. Yep. Where are you on providing a bigger, much bigger, comprehensive relief package to municipalities?
Well, hopefully that $350 million will be inclusive of what we're looking at giving to the municipalities. We've been talking to the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister on our calls weekly, every Thursday. And do you know how we could settle this very simply, and all the premiers will agree? They've given us 7 parameters, and 7 parameters don't work for all the provinces. You know, some need more in one area than others, and be it the East Coast or West Coast or the territories. Everyone has their priorities. Very simple. Hand us a check over per capita, and let us fall into those categories. But some may need it in other areas. Like obviously, we have huge municipalities. We're committed to give the municipalities more money. To be very frank, I was the one who brought it up. It probably wouldn't even been mentioned throughout the country if I didn't keep pushing the table, the Premier's table, and they've supported us on getting funding for municipalities. But just cut a check, give us the flexibility. The magical word is flexibility, and we'll fall into the categories they want. But if we're just forced to go into areas that we just don't need the money and we need more in the other area, it's just not going to work for any of the premiers. So that's my message to the Prime Minister, and he's been very good, by the way. I want to compliment him and the Deputy Prime Minister. They're both doing an incredible job. But just send us the money and it's done. Give us the flexibility. We'll fall into those categories. And we have a done deal. We can get money flowing. We're flowing, but there's only so much capacity the municipalities have.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Sean Jeffords with the Canadian Press. Please go ahead.
Hi, Sean.
Good afternoon, Premier. I wanted to ask you about the launch of the contact tracing app that Ontario was supposed to pilot. We understand that it's been delayed. I'm wondering if you can explain why it hasn't been rolled out yet and when you're expecting that it will now be able to be in use.
Well, it's not delayed on our side. I'm so proud that Shopify, what an incredible job they did, and we're proud to have the app come from Ontario. We're ready to go. I know the feds want to bring it right across the country. They're working on that, but Ontario's ready. So we'll wait for the feds to launch this, and we support them. I think they just have to get some other provinces on side right now, but we're good.
Follow up.
And Premier, another question for you about the situation down in Windsor-Essex with the farm where I understand over 190 workers have tested positive for COVID-19. You said that you've spoken with the owner of this farm. The health unit down there says they will not release the name of the farm itself. I'm wondering if you will say who this, what this farm is, who this farm is, and if not, why not? And why does the public not have a right to know where this outbreak is when in other parts of the province that has been the practice?
Well, there's a lot of farms just on the brink right now, and I don't want to hurt any business. I don't want to hurt any farmers. No fault of their own. You know, when I call people out, it's because they're trying to gouge someone. They're trying to take advantage of the public. These poor farmers, they aren't trying to take advantage of anyone. They're beside themselves. And I'm not about to throw a hardworking farmer underneath the bus for nothing that he's done wrong. He's trying. We just need the cooperation of the workers as well. On those tests, we wanted to go back down there and retest them. And all the workers went and hid. We were able to retest 4 out of 190. And that's why my emphasis to the workers, nothing's going to happen. We're here. Ontario's here to help you, make sure you get better, make sure you get healthy. That's what we want to do. We want to protect you. We don't want to hurt you. So there's no reason to hide. You know, just let the medical professionals do their job, and we'll get back and up and running again. You'll be able to get back to work. The farmers will be able to move forward with their businesses. I understand the situation. The farmers, you know, the poor gentleman, after saying we can put him back to work, all of a sudden they shut down the farm. And I understand where the chief medical officer is, but do you think that encourages other farmers to cooperate when all of a sudden, you know, one of their friends get their farm shut down like that? We're working on this, and around the clock we're working on this. And hopefully today or tomorrow we'll be able to sit down and have a conversation. I've talked to both the mayors. I talked to Mayor McDonald, Mayor of Leamington last night too, and she's a wonderful person, working hard, but I feel sorry for the people in Leamington and everyone down there. We're doing everything we can to get this up and going again. We just need the cooperation.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Lucas Meyer with News Talk 1010. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Premier.
Hi.
Premier, just to go quickly back on the app, you mentioned that the province is ready to go here, and we're waiting on a little bit more, federal approval. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what seems to be the holdup, and if you have any indication of when it will be ready?
Well, I think it's ready to go. I think they just need a buy-in from a few more provinces and open it up nationally. And I stand with the Prime Minister on doing this. I understand there's a little problem with giving other provinces the right to communicate with Apple and I believe it's Microsoft. I could be wrong on that, but just be able to communicate with their providers.
And my other question is actually for Minister Clark, since you're there. Minister, and the Premier mentioned before, that we're looking out for the most vulnerable and people working to paycheck. And you did mention the moratorium on residential evictions. I'm curious though, do you already have an idea in mind? Obviously it's very difficult to tell because we don't know what the emergency measures are going to be with the pandemic. But do you have an idea in mind of when that could potentially be lifted? Any idea of when that could potentially happen, where we could see those eviction notices start again? And if so, are you suspecting we're going to see just a big, influx of possible evictions? And if so, what are you going to do about it?
Well, Attorney